in our yearbook.
So.
All right, questions for Coach Koenning?
Okay, all right, see y'all.
Coach, start off, confusion for, or at least for me, the Will and the Spear. Which, is Will a true linebacker, Spear is a safety, or flip-flop? Explain those two positions for us.
Well, the Spear, nickel, whatever you want to call him, is probably a little bit more DB oriented towards the hybrid side of that, and the Will is just based on who we're going against. If you're going against a team that spreads you out, once you use 3 and 4 wide receivers, then the Will is a little more safety. That gives you a position where everybody. If you talk to high school coaches, I'm not trying to make this a long answer. Talk to high school coaches. A lot of them have a strong safety they want you to recruit, and so that kind of gives you a position where you can play those kind of guys. So there's kind of a hybrid safety linebacker kind of guy. So he's on the Wills are on the other side of that. So is that
yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. So
one plays the field, one plays the boundary.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
That's an easy way of figuring it out. Yeah.
Put those not strong and weak, but wide. And
yes, sir. Well, when you're going against tempo teams, and when you're waiting for them to technically come out of a huddle before you make a call, and there is no huddle, that kind of becomes difficult. Yeah. So anyway, it's like opening the refrigerator door and there's nothing to eat. You better go somewhere and get something to eat. Yeah, you got to figure out something else. So.
Would you call the defense that you're running unique, or is it run by a lot of teams, or and where did it come from?
It is a little bit of a long story and where it came from, but I can make it fairly short. We do a lot of principles, probably, that a lot of people do. There's some stuff that's 4-3-ish in it. There's a lot of things that are odd stack-ish in it, though we may not line up exactly where, but some of the concepts and principles go back to that. It's probably more 4-2-5-ish. It's kind of a way of marrying a 4-2-5, odd stack, 3-4. Those of y'all that understand football, an odd stack, when you get to 3-by-1, it's a 3-4. If you play a 3-4 and you get to 3-by-1 on them, then they got to go to odd stack, kinda. It's just a way to adjust. That's just the way it is. I've kind of over the years, there's things of each system that I kind of like, and then we've kind of doctored some stuff up over the years to fit our players. That's why I was so vague at the beginning. What are we going to run? Well, kind of got to see what we've got, and then we'll kind of gear our system toward that. Already starting to see a little bit of things that make us think we're going to be a little more 3-4-ish, but time will tell. We've still got, some opportunities to maybe get a guy. We've got a couple of scholarships left, and so we'll see, how things go and how some guys develop as spring wears on. So
3-4, is that because of what you see from your guys?
There's a lot more linebackers here and not as many D linemen. And so we're trying to use the guys on our team, what best suits them. There's a whole lot of guys that are from 225 to 235, and there's not, I don't want to use improper grammar, make you think I did go to public school, but I do know there's not enough defensive linemen. So as far as what we need.
Playing teams with power.
Well, that is a concern, yes, sir. And I think right now, just looking on our schedule this coming year, there's going to be at least 3 teams that are going to be playing 12 personnel and 21 personnel. So there probably will be times where we may take out a hybrid guy and put a bigger guy in. Right now, we're just trying to get the basics and the fundamentals and the concepts, everything. We really would like it for every guy on the defense to really have about 5 things that they really got to learn what to do. Be really good at those 5 things, technique-wise. And then what we can do is we can mix and match, when they do it based on our call system. So,
can you give a couple examples of those, and do those differ by position?
Well, like we talked about the spear and the wheel, their techniques are almost exactly the same. So they're going to carry 2 down the middle. They're going to play outside of 2 and bang him and go to 1. Or they're going to read 3 and drop to the curl and take whoever comes out. That's their basic. Or they're going to play 2 man-to-man. So that's 4. You may have to start to get into down and distance specifics to get other stuff, but that's the basic things they got to learn what to do. So that's what we're getting we're trying to get as good as we can at those things before we get to the next things. So
when you're going against teams that are bigger than you, do you have to do things to get your guys moving, to outnumber them at the point of attack, stem, things like that?
Well, it depends. If you're athletic enough to do that, yes, sir. If not, you just get in the gap and try to get in the gap and hang on. My first coaching job, I worked for a guy named Charlie Bailey, and I'll never forget Coach Bailey said the key to coaching defense is getting your bad players to use up all the blockers so your good players can make the plays. That sounds simplistic, but there's some truth to that as well. So we want to force double teams. We want to make sure we dictate the blocking schemes as much as we can. My first full-time job was working for a guy named Joe Lee Dunn, and his reputation was of blitz, 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 blitz all the time. And so that would be fun. I would like to bring pressure, bring 5 or more, 25 to 30% of the time, but with the way offenses are now, they're throwing the ball in 2.6 seconds. You can be wide open and not get there. I would just happen to be eating the other day in the cafeteria and heard them talking about why draft a defensive end when Tom Brady's going to throw the ball before he can get there. And I was going, yep, I understand that. So you've got to be able to cover first and force teams to do those things. We watched the bowl game really for the first time yesterday or the day before, and we blitzed more in the bowl game than we had all year, but we dropped guys out and got underneath their hot routes because I knew they would try to throw hot. So we were able to, I knew based on game plan, what they were going to do, and we dropped guys into those holes, and then we got that big quarterback from Buffalo moving a little bit, and it really only hurt us once because we kind of wanted him moving so he couldn't just rock and fire. So anyway, that's just some examples. So.
You showed the current guys that bowl game to see that stuff in action, or was that just you guys watching?
No, it was just us. We were installing, and so it was easier to show them. Now, this was our coaches. It wasn't players yet. It was just teaching the coaches that are on the staff, here's what we're trying to get out of this. And that was really, we had done more of that in the bowl game than we had all season. So that was the best game because I knew there was a bunch of more snaps of that in that game. So it showed them what we're trying to do.
You play a lot of, you like to play quarters coverage?
We do play quarters, but it's not as conventional quarters as some people. A lot of people call it palms. That's Hayden Fry deal that came from way back Iowa. All the Stoops brothers took it everywhere. I know that his name doesn't come to head. The guy that was the head coach at Nebraska, that was Youngstown. He's his version. Pelini, Bo Pelini's got a version of it. So there's a lot of people that do it. I mean, that's not a new deal. That's been around for a long time. We've kind of put our own wrinkles to it so that we can play with what we call backstops. We really don't want, especially in spread offenses, it's called spread because they want to use the field. Where, you know, it's just like when you're growing up, if you're playing ball and you throw the ball to the batter and he misses it and the ball runs down the street, you're going to get tired of playing ball pretty soon because you're chasing the ball down the street all the time. So we kind of want to have backstops. We don't want to see them running a stretch play or throwing a bubble screen and the ball running around the edge all the time. That's when you start seeing that happening to us, then we got to do something different. So we really don't want teams to be able to spread. We want to kind of make them go where we want them to go, if that makes sense.
They played a lot of cover 1 and 3 here before.
They were a 1 high, what's called closed middle, a lot. But that's what odd stack is 3-5-3 and or you blitz. So you play 5 under 3 deep, or you blitz, or you bring 2 guys and play a fire zone. I mean, I can draw all that stuff up too, huh?
How much habit breaking are you doing now with some of this?
It started off a little bit. I think most of the habit breaking is mental. It's not as much physical. I think the guys are doing a really good job, at least my guys, and I'd say all the defensive guys pretty much. I think they're really trying hard. They've really done, I think, a good job all in all. When you sit back and get away from the day-to-day grind of it, I just think now it's just a mental deal as far as, well, I was used to doing this, I had success, or I did this, and it's just, I think some of it is it's just kind of breaking that a little bit. So I think our guys are really trying for the most part, and see a lot of progress. Again, it's just like having your kids, when you see them every day, you don't see them grow. But like you go to visit relatives that have kids, and those kids grow a foot, and you go, wow, you really grew. Well, it's when you're with them every day, you don't see the progress that they're actually making. So you got to kind of step back a little bit and not be too critical of yourself or them and the progress that they're really making. So.
Have you seen enough of these guys to determine if they're athletic enough to play?
You know what? They're who we have, and it really doesn't, and I'm not trying to avoid answering this, it really doesn't matter. They're the guys we got, and we're going to make them as best. We're going to coach them and love them and get them as good as we can. Some of them can play, and some of them we have to get them where they can play. That's our jobs, and I'm ultimately responsible for the whole group. And I take that very, very serious and personal, and so it's not just a football deal. I think the football part of it, and I know there's been a lot of famous head coaches that have said this. The football part of it's just a small part of it. We're making boys to men, or men to better men, or however you want to do it. That part of it's much, much greater right now. That's part of it. The football stuff kind of comes easy, really. They love it when they go on the field. So, and as coaches, that's our favorite part of the day as well. So, I hope I'm not trying to avoid questions, but they're the guys we got. So, we'll find out, because W's and L's will come pretty soon. So, we'll find out.
How are things coming with the language, the difference in terminology and all that?
I think they're doing great. Again, I think the guys are trying hard. There's some of them that they'll, well, we did this, and we did that, and I like doing that. Well, yeah, I like sitting back here at 25 yards reading the quarterback's eyes. That was real easy, and just running to where the ball was. I'm just using an example of free safety. Heck yeah, that was simple. What's that old Geico commercial where a caveman can do it or whatever? Yeah, I sit back here in the middle of the field, 25 yards, and go. Well, so now reading the receiver, and if he goes out, I do this. If he goes in, I do this. And if he goes this, that's much more difficult. But that's quarters coverage. It's pattern match and reading. And So that's a little bit harder. So does that kind of help? Yeah, some of the stuff's harder for them, but I think they're real. I mean, I really do think they're trying. Obviously, you know, we're all trying. So, all right.
Okay, thanks.